Be alive in this land of ours. Good to drive in this land of ours.
Hello, Canadian hockey fans in the United States.
If it's 7 p.m. Eastern Time on a Thursday night, it's Hockey Time Machine. Hi, everybody, and on behalf of Paul and Laura and Glen, I'm Steve Paikin, joining you tonight from the North Channel on Manitoulin Island, and we're delighted to welcome you to a show about a team that did a great deal to restore Canada's luster on the international hockey stage. So let's welcome, in alphabetical order, members of Team Canada 1978. In Kamloops, British Columbia, Guy Charron, who played 3 decades in the NHL from 1969 to 81 and was with the Washington Capitals in 1978. In West Palm Beach, Florida, Denis Herron, Vezina Trophy winner with the Habs in 1981. He played for the Pittsburgh Penguins in 1978. In Huntsville, Ontario, Pat Hickey, 10 seasons in the NHL, 40 goals for the New York Rangers in 1978. In West Vancouver, British Columbia, Denis, defenseman who spent almost 700 games in the NHL, all of them with the Vancouver Canucks. His 321 career points was the all-time mark for Canucks defensemen for more than 3 decades. In Leamington, Ontario, Pat Ribble played defense for the Blackhawks, Maple Leafs, Capitals, and Flames in both Calgary and Atlanta, and he was with Atlanta in 1978 when Team Canada came calling. And in Banff, Alberta, Garry Unger, 16 seasons in the NHL, the Iron Man of his day with 914 consecutive games played, more than 1,100 games and 400 goals scored, came to Team Canada 78 as captain of the St. Louis Blues. And gentlemen, we're delighted to welcome all of you from very near and very far to our broadcast this evening. And I guess, Gary, protocol dictates that you, as the alternate captain of the team, I should start with you. In 1977, Team Canada finished out of the medals and got very frustrated, and there were a lot of misconducts, and they became known as Team Ugly. Your team obviously played the following year, and I wonder how much of what transpired the previous year was in the back of the minds of you and your teammates as you got ready for the tournament in 1978.
Well, for myself, I didn't really realize when you go to a tournament like this, the teams are so close. It's so hard to, put a team together that quickly. And you just have to have some lucky chemistry to put a team together and all of a sudden jump into a series. I think we were still also looking at the fact that Canada was the best hockey guys in the whole world. And we were just going to go in there and it was going to be easy. Maybe that's what happened in 77. But we just went in there with open arms and lucky to be there. We were excited about being chosen for the team, and it was another great experience for us. So 77 didn't really have any effect on me at all.
Throughout the course of our broadcast tonight, we're going to be playing clips from back in the day, both game clips and interviews, and we want to start. Our friend Glen is in Seattle, Washington tonight, and he's the guy who's going to play the clips. We're going to start with team captain Marcel Dion on this very subject. Glen, clip 12 if you would.
Marcel, you didn't play, but you were with the team in 72 in Moscow. Now you're the team captain, the leader of this team. That's a lot of pressure on your shoulders, and I guess you're finding the difference.
Well, that's right, but it's a very young team, and it's a lot of fun, and there's not too much pressure as far as the team is concerned, but it's very hard because we have a lot of inexperience out there, and we're making a lot of mistakes, and it's kind of tough.
Marcel, le fait qu'il y ait plusieurs joueurs qui sont assez jeunes sur l'équipe, est-ce que ça rend ta tâche assez difficile?
Pas tellement, parce qu'avec tous les jeunes joueurs, c'était un petit peu plus facile, et puis qu'est-ce qu'il y a beaucoup de pression, et puis on essaie de gagner les parties le plus tôt possible pour aller en finale.
Alors tout le monde a confiance en toi.
Bien, espérons.
Well, that interview just showed us that Canada is a country with 2 official languages. And I want to ask Guy Charron whether or not it was ever an issue for the team that you had English and French, Anglophone and Francophones, all playing together, trying to figure it out.
Not at all, Steve. We all played the same game, and we're all part of each team has got different nationalities, or more so now, but in the past, English and French. And, like Garry pointed out, I think for all of us, it was an opportunity, and we're happy to have been selected, but I never sensed that there was anything that was created as far as French language and English language.
Denis Herron, can I get you to comment on that as well?
The same, but we speak pretty much all English, and in the locker room was all English. If I spoke to Guy, I spoke to him in French, but overall, everything was in English, pretty much.
And Pat Ribble, how about the coaching of the team? Was it always in English all the time?
Yes, it was, as far as I was concerned, because I don't understand a lot of French. So, no, Harry and Marshall were very good to me, and they treated everybody with respect. It was great.
Pat Hickey, how about the issue of the previous season? Was any of that in the back of your mind? The fact that you were, Canada's reputation as Team Ugly the previous year had come to Prague, Czechoslovakia. Did you feel a need to deal with that?
Well, not really. Glen Sharpley just brought that up to me the other day when I sort of reached out to him, that there was a reputational, personality that we had to fix. But I was kind of too young, and I kind of took the ugly team because I didn't know why they were named ugly, but I kind of took it as a compliment. So we were in Europe, we were all together, we felt strong that way, and I think we were all honorable guys anyway. We had a great time, and I've heard since I talked to Glen a little bit about Team Ugly that part of the job was, I just remember Alan Eagleson when I came late because I had 2 out of 3 first-round playoff in the NHL, so the team went ahead of me. We lost out to Buffalo, and I came over, but they made sure in my bag there was this big bag of Canadian pins for the lapel. And they said, when you get there, give them out to everybody, from the airport to the hotel and everything. So I figured something was up. But no, the reputation of Team Canada in my blood was always like 72. So being ugly was all part of the game.
Okay, I should ask Dennis Kearns this question because I think, Dennis, if I got this right, did you play on 77 and 78?
Yes, I did, Steve. And
could you compare the 2 teams?
First-class people there, like we had in 78. We had, great Phil Esposito, his brother Tony, Rod Gilbert. I guess we were a little undisciplined, but I had never heard that Team Ugly until you just brought it up. It was, again, a good group of individuals, and we were there 5 weeks in 77. So 2 weeks of exhibition games and then 3 weeks of the tournament. So it was a long time to be away from home.
Dennis, do I have this right that you had not heard this nickname Team Ugly referred to in the 77 team before?
No, Steve, just tonight's the first time I've heard it. Yeah.
Huh. Okay, let's move on here. I want to know, since you all, for people who don't remember, back in the day, we put our international teams together from guys whose teams didn't make the playoffs or who had, as in the case of Pat Hickey, their teams had just been eliminated. So here are a bunch of guys playing for lots of different teams and presumably dealing with the disappointment of not being able to play for the Stanley Cup now, being put on a plane, sent over to Europe, and all of a sudden they have to become a team. Garry Unger, how does that happen?
Well, because we're professional hockey players, and I haven't met any of the hockey players that I didn't have great respect for, and you just do it. I mean, it's an experience. You're living a dream. You're experiencing one of the things that I found with the with the Team Canada experience was that I'd never really played for my country before. And there seemed to be a little stronger bond playing for your country. Not that there wasn't with the individual team, because it's always there all the time, but just the fact that you had Team Canada taped on the front of your jersey was amazing feeling. And, you know, the guys all seem to get along wherever they go. So it just kind of fit in. You go out and do what you like to do, play hockey and play hard and hope that you're going to have a team put together very quickly.
Pat Ribble, were there any guys on Team Canada in 1978 who you had, let's say, bad history with from maybe an altercation in the NHL?
No, I don't think so. I don't know if you know it. I was a replacement on the team, so I didn't get to meet the guys till I flew into Toronto as we were leaving to go over to Sweden. So I was like an add-on because I think Ron Greshner had backed out, but I don't recall having any skirmishes with anybody before.
How did you get picked to play on the team? Well,
Alan Eagleson was my agent. That probably had something to do with it. But I also had five teammates from Atlanta on the team, and they must have given me a good word. And when Bill Waters called me, I was still reeling from being beat out by Detroit, and I didn't believe him at first. I had to call him back to make sure I was talking to the right guy. But it all worked out. It was such an honor for me. So.
Well, one more question for you, because I think I see something in a frame on the wall behind you. Is that the jersey you played in?
That is my jersey. I don't know if you can see it. There. Yep. I had it framed, so.
All right.
That's a thing of beauty. Well done. Guy Charron, I want to pick up that story with you. You're playing for the Capitals one day. And how did you find out that they wanted you to fly over to Prague and play in the tournament?
Well, when you're a team that's been eliminated from the playoffs way before the end of the season, you don't know that you can ever be considered to be selected for one of these tournaments and represent your country. And as Garry and other guys have mentioned, I think we all took a lot of pride in being selected. Some people felt that, there are some of the players that teams that never made the playoffs or didn't make the playoffs. But for us, it was a reward for probably our season. Perhaps we had a good enough season for them to consider us. And when they come to you and say, we would like for you to join the team to play in Europe and represent Canada in a world championship, I know for myself, I took a lot of pride into it. It was my playoffs, and you go there with the intention of doing the best you can for your country.
Let me follow up with Denis Kearns on that, because I presume you're disappointed at the end of the NHL season that you're not going on to play in the Stanley Cup playoffs. How do you get over the disappointment to kind of get up for a whole new challenge halfway around the world?
Well, I was like Pat and Pat. I was also a late addition to the team. My wife and I were in Palm Springs vacationing, and I got the phone call down there. Went outside, talked to my wife, and told her I had a phone call. She said, "You make the decision." And like the rest of the guys on the show here, it was an honor. So I shut down my vacation and headed back to Vancouver, and flew overnight to Toronto, and then I went right to a game meal in Czechoslovakia, and we played that night. Now, I didn't play a whole lot that night, but again, it was an honor to represent our country. And like Garry said, when you put the maple leaf on it, it's special.
An honor to represent, but deep down, were you and your wife a little bit disappointed that you couldn't have the rest of your vacation?
Not at all. Not at all. My wife joined us over in Prague, and she had a great time. And we got two of we only had two boys at that time. We got them looked after in Kingston, and we had a wonderful time over there. And meeting the likes of Guy and Denis and Pat, and of course Garry Unger, who I've admired for so many years. It was perfect. Didn't think twice.
Sweet. Denis Herron, the goaltenders for the team were going to be you and Daniel Bouchard. Did they give you guys any indication before the series began as to how much each of you would play?
Not really. We just went and tried to do our best. Really, he had told us that Dan was going to start the first game and probably rotate a little bit and see who was going to be the hottest goalie. And we just went game after game and tried to do the best we can, and that was it. Because don't forget, when you play the international hockey, it's a little bit of different hockey than North American hockey. Also, the Russian and the Czech, they don't shoot as much. They pass lots. They pass the puck quite often, and you have to be a little bit faster, a little bit different style.
Understood. All right. Let me ask Laura whether or not this is a bit like a hockey team right now, in as much as this is our starting line. We may have some guys who are actually on the bench who want to come in right now. Laura, do you know whether Denis Maruk is available in Winnipeg to join us now? And let's find out if he is. Hi there, Laura. You're muted, Laura.
No, I'm sorry. I
one.
don't see Denis trying to get back in. I think he's at his event already.
In Winnipeg. Okay. All right.
But I think we can hear Laura typing or something.
No, I'm not typing. Glen,
yeah, we
if
hear
you're
somebody
typing, stop typing.
Okay, well, let's go through it here because game one was April 27th, 1978 against Finland, and we're going to play a little bit of the action from that game. Glen, if you would, clip one, please.
Finland takes advantage of the extra manpower to score the deciding goal and record the tournament's first big upset. Coach Harry Howell obviously disappointed. Finland upset Team Canada 6-4.
Okay, Garry Unger, how disappointed was everybody after losing in an upset that very first game? Gary's so disappointed he doesn't want to talk to me about it. Okay. Charron, you want to pick up the story? How upset was everybody after that first loss to Finland?
It's there's so much expectation for any Canadian team, and we as Canadian, that's our national sport. We take a lot of pride into it, and I guess everybody's expecting you to win every game, and it's a different world out there. You travel. We're again in Europe. The teams are a little bit more accustomed to the bigger ice. They play together maybe a little bit longer. And the first game, there's always adjustments to be made. And like I said, we all take pride into doing the best we can. But sometimes we got to give credit to the opposition. And it needed us to get, a couple of games under our belt to, familiarize with everybody, because each guys have played on different teams. So I think it's just the thing that, as Canadians, when we step on the ice and we represent our country, the world is expecting us to win every game, and it's not happening that way.
Right. Laura, I wonder if I could get perfect. Let's get everybody up there right now. Can I see a show of hands? Who played in that first game?
I did. The clip was on there for sure.
Okay, let's get some feedback on this one. Pat Hickey, start us off. The first game, obviously you guys want to win. You're beat by Finland. It's an upset. What are you thinking after that first game's over?
Well, going in, I thought we were going to win, but I live by this little rule: you got to get beaten up in the schoolyard sometimes just to smarten up. And I think that was the first evidence of the real leadership that we had, from Marcel Dion, the little general we used to call him, down to the Guy Charron and Denis Herron, and the guys in the team. We all looked at each other and said, "Okay, now we have to go to work." And we took the kick in the butt, and we had to straighten out from that. We saw the same thing in '72, so we knew it was in us, but we started to get back into the hockey, and I think it was the leadership on the team. I don't know what happened in the second game, but I'm sure that he Charron scored a goal that game.
Oh my goodness, Pat! How can you remember that? That'd have been history right there.
I'm just giving you an example. It was the true leaders. I sat beside Garry Unger in the locker room, and he said he elbowed me in the ribs after the game when we're all feeling down and said, "Don't worry about it, kid. Keep your feet moving. We'll do better tomorrow."
Mm-hmm. Well, I got to go to the source to get confirmation on that. Garry Unger, does that sound familiar?
Well, you know what? We're used to winning and losing. You can't win every game. And I think the biggest adjustment for us over there was the ice surface, was the bigger ice surface. You're killing a penalty. These guys are moving the puck around 100 miles an hour, and they're so far in between where you got to go, so you can't chase around. And just adjusting to the European style game. It's a practice game. It's an exhibition game. We know that we've got a great team, and we have to get over these hurdles. So that's part of being a professional.
Pat Ribble, what was said in the dressing room after that first game loss?
Well, I think that's the game we blow a 4-0 lead.
You did,
and it just shows for our next game how much pride was in that room because we came back and had a good game the next game. So like Garry said, the ice surface was so much bigger than we were used to playing in small rinks, and when you're killing penalties, you really got to stay in one section and not chase around.
Dennis Kearns, how about you? Depressed after the first game?
I was looked like I was -1 on there, or at least -1 because I was on for that game-winning goal or the 6th goal, whatever it was. But like the other guys say, you're not going to win all the games, and no different in any sport. You just have to believe in yourself and believe in your teammates. And we had some all first-class players there, so in the end, it worked out fairly well for us.
Well, Pat Hickey's memory is quite good as it relates to Game 2 because you're back at it the next day against East Germany. And Glen Dreyfus, let's play clip 2 and see what happened there.
Here's a beautiful offensive play. Guy Charron of the Washington Capitals to Colorado's Wilf Payma, who scores. The final score, Team Canada 6, East Germany 2.
Okay, Guy Charron, how much more did you enjoy that game than Game 1?
Well, everything's about winning, isn't it? But yeah, it's it's funny that when I first showed I saw the clip before tonight. It's like it's amazing. It brings so many memories to those times and the players that you got to meet and playing with, and it was a very memorable time. And I can't say how much I appreciate just having an opportunity to talk about it with these guys. Unfortunately, we all go our different ways and families, but it's awesome. We're very fortunate to have had a career in this sport, and I have enjoyed every minute of it.
2 days later, on April 30th, you're playing the United States, and let's take a look at some action from that game. Glen, clip 3, please.
Behind the net to Maruk. Back to McMillan. Back to the point to Maxwell. To McMillan again, in front to Maruk, who scores his 3rd of the night. It was a great offensive display by Team Canada, in which they stormed to a 7-0 lead before the U.S. managed to get on the scoreboard, and that wasn't until the final 5 minutes of the game.
Pat Hickey, 7-2, big win. Denis Maruk, your fellow forward there. What did he mean to this team?
Well, Denis was a unique player. I believe he was playing with the Washington Capitals at the time. But it's just an example of from Maruk to Lysiak to Dion. These guys could do everything. They could pass and shoot. And, I just happened to be able to skate, so I gave him the donnez-moi la rondelle, and that's what my job was to do. And that's what Harry Howell told me to do. But Denis Maruk was a special guy. When you can turn nothing in a rush down the ice into something really special, like you saw there. He was standing there, like they were trying to check him, but he was standing there wide open and kept his feet moving. So he was a special player to play with.
Now, the next game, you beat West Germany 6-2. This is, again, for our younger viewers. Germany, once upon a time, was two different countries, East Germany and West Germany, and they won 6-2. So at this point in the tournament, you guys are 3-1. Denis Herron, how are you feeling about your chances as a team at this point with 3 wins and 1 loss?
Well, I think that our confidence is back, and we're going to come in against big teams eventually. We, like I said, confidence was pretty good. We had the team get together. Like you said, the first game was a little bit harder because we didn't play together too often. But game after game, we got more experience together, and I think our chances were even better and better all the time.
Yeah, just a note to Laura, our executive producer here. We are hearing some kind of typing or something in the background, which is, we're still hearing it now, which is unfortunately competing with the answers that our guests are giving. So I don't know what that is, but if there's a way to get rid of it, that would be good. Let's move on to the next thing, and that is
Glen Dreyfus. Glen Dreyfus.
Glen Dreyfus. Maybe you need to mute yourself.
If you're typing, can you not type? Oh,
it's
you're not
him.
typing. See,
No.
I have no idea where it's coming from. Sorry, gentlemen. My apologies.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get back at it here. Okay, Pat Ribble, maybe you could pick up the story as well. You guys are 3-1 at this point in the tournament. How are you feeling about things?
I think we're feeling good. We knew that we had some big opposition coming up against the Russians and the Czechs, and it was going to be a different game. They moved the puck so well, and if you're in the penalty box trying to kill penalties against them, it's pretty dire that you can count on them doing something amazing. So we had to keep our hopes up, but we weren't overconfident, that's for sure.
Well, in fact, the next game, and I'll go to Dennis Kearns on this one, the next game you lose 5-0 to the defending gold medal winners from Czechoslovakia. Do you conclude at this point, Denis, that you probably haven't got the horses to win the gold this year?
Well, I would say that's a good observation. The teams in those days when we were over there were not a lot of Czechs. I don't think there were any Czechs or Russians playing over here. So it was a stacked team. I didn't recall we lost 5-0, but it wasn't a very good show, I guess.
Garry Unger, how did the team feel after the 5-0 game?
Well, I think the Czechs and the Russians were at a different level. And again, like I mentioned before, it was kind of in the back of your mind, you're thinking they're not going to beat us. And I think one of the reasons why we got better as that tournament went along was our determination. They were, again, used to the large ice surfaces and the different things that go on with their game over there, and I think the determination on our team with guys like Pat Hickey, and especially with the defense. As I coached later on in my career, I learned that you build a team from the goaltender out to the defenseman, and then all us guys that were sometimes goal scorers, where you could move in and out anytime you wanted. So I think our defense was unbelievable. Dennis Kearns, and we don't get to play a lot. Over the years, you get to play a lot against the guy, but at that time of my career, we hadn't played a lot against some of the guys that would come to the team. And you realize how good these guys are. And I think I remember how positive, like Pat had mentioned, we were trying to be to each other. And Denis was a huge impact on me, especially in that West German game, because I was not used to being hit at all. And we were playing at the end of that game, trying to hold on with a tight game. We're playing West Germany, and we're not supposed to even be close to these guys. And all of a sudden, we're out there, fighting for our lives. And I came around the back of the net with the puck. I was in our end, going to get the puck out of the end. And a West German guy came on this side of the net and hit me so hard that I only had 2 pieces of my stick in my hand. And I had the knob and a little piece of stick. I've never been hit that hard in my life. And I jumped up with this guy. I don't even know if he spoke English, but I jumped up and I looked at him and I said, if you can't hit harder than that, you better quit. I went to the bench and just collapsed. and Denis says, way to go, Garry. So
Denis, do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that, but leave it to Garry to get up and do that. I mean, when you play 960 games or whatever that ridiculous number was with probably broken fingers and toes and whatever, that's why he was our Iron Man.
Anybody else remember Garry Unger taking that hard hit?
He wouldn't have showed it. He wouldn't have showed it.
I made it to the bench, and then I collapsed underneath the cameras.
Well, Garry, maybe it was after that game when one of the highlights of sitting beside you in the locker room there for the 35 days or whatever it was that we were in Prague was, I remember one day, kind of breathlessly, you leaned over to me and said, how much are they paying you to be here, Hickey? I said, how much are they paying you? $3,000, which was a total lie. Nobody's getting paid anything. So maybe that's how we sort of just took medicine for you. He was hurting pretty bad.
Pat, is that a fact? Nobody got paid anything to play in this tournament?
No, we got a $1,000 pen from the NHLPAs. The way it was.
Well, we got a pile of junk, though. We got suitcases and watches and all sorts of stuff that we traded on the street to get trinkets from Czechoslovakia.
Crystal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Garry, while we're on it, I can't let this pass up. The first week that we're over there, he's got a hockey bag under his bench. I think it was filled up by the first week. And then he had 2 hockey bags. And it was filled up at the end of the second week. And then he had 3, and I finally got up enough guts to ask him. I said, what do you got in there? What's going on? Your laundry? And it's just all the gimmies that the Joffas and all of those companies were given, gloves and helmets and all that kind of stuff. He was collecting it, bringing it home. So I started too.
Well, Garry Unger mentioned in the course of that last answer that you build a team from the goal out. So the next game was against Sweden. It was your 6th game of the tournament. And I say, let's have a look at your gardien du but, Denis Herron, in action. Okay, Glen, this is clip number 4. Let's roll that, please.
That's Gradine again, forcing Herron to make a sensational save. The key play that broke Canada's lethargy took place in the dressing room after the second period. Trailing 4-3, Team Canada chairman Al Eagleson delivered a stinging blast, and it apparently woke them up. Pat Hickey enjoyed a 3-goal night in this game. On this one, Hickey fires home the rebound off John Pronovost's shot to tie it at 4-4.
Well, okay, we've got to find out more about what Alan Eagleson had to say to all of you guys in that intermission. Okay, Pat Ribble, you want to start the story?
Well, I don't remember anything about it. Really, I don't. I'm just glad we come out and won the game. So.
You did come out and win the game. Dennis Kearns, do you remember anything about this Eagleson diatribe at intermission?
Absolutely not. I'm with Pat. I do not remember that.
Okay, Guy Charron?
I'm in the same boat as Denis and Pat. I don't remember a thing that he might have said.
Are you guys serious here?
I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
I got to comment on that. All I know is I was protected because John Ferguson was over there. He was a coach and GM of the Rangers, and I knew he was there, and I had a comfort that he was behind us. I don't remember Eagleson ever saying anything.
Yeah.
Isn't this interesting? Because that obviously is the voice of Dan Kelly, who's doing the big recap on the documentary. And, you know, according to obviously the people who put this together, Eagleson went into your dressing room and tore a strip off all of you guys. And here we are 43 years later. And Garry Unger, nobody remembers anything about this Eagleson diatribe?
You might have told the
remember
producer.
that most of us guys played without a helmet. So I don't remember an awful lot that went around. I still drive a motorcycle without a helmet, so I'm not that bright.
Well, Steve, I think it was mentioned before, like Bill Waters was the general manager. He was well respected at the time, and I think I've heard that he called me the night we lost to Buffalo, and Eagleson really, he wasn't part of it in some of our minds. Bill Waters and Harry Howell, they were the coaches and general manager and the leader, and I think we all looked at that.
Gotcha. Now, talk to me. Maybe Guy Charron, maybe you can talk to us about Harry Howell and what he brought to the team as the head coach of the club.
Well, I mean, in my case, there's an element of respect for the coaches, and especially Harry, who had played the game and was such a good player. How could you not respect whatever guidance he was giving us? Everyone was very respectful of him and the staff, and it's just one of those things. Like he played the game when it was hard, and he was an exceptional player, and it was just a privilege for me anyway to have him as a coach at one point in my career.
All right, let's continue the story. It's 4-4 against Sweden. Eagleson either did or did not tear a strip off you guys. Maybe he did, but nobody remembers it all these years later. And let's see what happens next. Glen Dreyfus, clip number 5, please, and let's watch Mr. Hickey at work.
Marcel Dion started this scoring play. He passes to Jean Pronovost. Hickey wheels around the net and slams the puck home from the short side. Swedish goalie Hardy Astrom's uttered ejection tells the story. A very large win for Team Canada to keep their medal hopes alive.
Yeah, Pat Hickey, you guys go on to win 7-5 in that game. You're now 4 wins and 2 losses in the tournament. What do you remember about that game?
I think, personally, I had a hat trick, but that was easy playing with Jean Pronovost and Marcel Dion, so it was just my contribution. But yeah, I think we tore a strip off each other in that locker room. I remember the third period, like there was no doubt we were coming back, and I think we did it just to bring up the Czechoslovakia. I know you're leading into it, but we went over to Oslo and we had 2 exhibition games against Czechoslovakia. And I'm pretty sure, I think we tied one and we beat them once. And it was the same thing with the Swedes. We highly respected them, especially when they got up on us. But there was a lot of determination, and there was a lot of things that happened there. I happened to be on the gift end of it and got the puck in the right place at the right time. But it was like a breath of fresh air to win that game against Sweden, for sure.
Garry Unger, do you want to see what you looked like 43 years ago, giving an interview to Bill Stevenson? Well, whether you do or whether you don't, we're going to show it anyway. Here's Bill Stevenson talking to Garry Unger about playing international hockey. Glen, clip 6, please.
If you're invited to go again internationally and represent Canada, will you?
Love to. This is probably one of the greatest thrills of my life, playing for Canada, being with this group of guys, the way they organize this team, the way we're being treated, the way the people have been to us. It's been the greatest thrill of my life.
Garry, what made the tournament so special for you?
Well, I think, like we talked about, and everybody's kind of mentioned this, representing your country, getting a chance to play for Team Canada. I always loved to meet other players from other teams, guys that I respected, that I played against. And in that particular tournament, we had so many gunners. I mean, you had Pat Hickey and John Pronovost and Pee Wee and obviously Marcel Dion. And I finally went to Harry and I said, listen, Harry, we got all these gunners on the team. I don't know how to check my hat. Why don't you teach me how to be a checker? Put me on a checking line and I'll play against the other team's best players. And he put Mike Murphy, myself, and I think it was Bobby Matt on a line. I don't think in that tournament I got any goals or any assists, but I really felt that I learned a lot more about the game than I had known before. and it was just a privilege to be around all these guys. Like I mentioned, the goaltending was amazing. Our defense was really, really good. And then he just kind of threw us in there to see if we could throw some pucks in the net.
Now, I can't tell if it was just some shadow on the video or whether you had a shiner there on your left eye. Which was it?
That's probably from the guy from West Germany that can't even hit anybody.
It looks like he left some evidence of getting you pretty good there.
I got whacked as good as I've ever been hit in the whole time I played.
Well, as long as we're on that subject, let's bring that up there too. And Pat Ribble, we have heard, certainly from Team Canada 72, but in other series as well, that where Canadian players would be more overt and open about their hitting in the corners, for example, European players tended to be kind of sneaky dirty, kicking, spearing, that kind of thing. How much of that did you see in this tournament?
I didn't see a lot of the kicking or anything. Every once in a while you might get an elbow, but first of all, it was tough trying to check them because they were fast and they moved the puck so well. But I didn't find them overly dirty. Sometimes I think against the Russians and the Czechs that we didn't think we were getting a fair deal on the penalty calls, but I didn't see anything really bad.
Guy Charron, any cheap stuff out there?
Well, I'd stayed away from that stuff for me. No, I'm only kidding. Not really. Again, the ice surface is the biggest difference. I mean, there may be things in small quarters. I don't think there was anything that did occur, but on a bigger ice surface, some of the things that you see probably more in North America are more, in vision. Where this, I didn't think that there was any things that showed the hooking or the slashing. I agree with Pat in some cases when you're there, the penalty calling is a little bit different. They see us as being the people that are playing dirty all the time. But there's some circumstances that how would I say upset it the way they did play or get away with certain things that appeared maybe a little bit more vicious, hiding things and little hooking and jabbing in the back, but things like that, I guess. But I can't really recollect that instances that put us in a position to react or overreact to those things. And as someone, maybe Denis had mentioned before, or the years before, maybe it was Pat, that you had to learn from it. And we knew that going in there that we were going to have to take maybe some of that stuff to be able to be successful.
Denis Kearns, how much of that famously European chippy dirty play did you see?
No, I agree with Guy on that. I didn't think it was too bad. Those players, to me, had the Russians and the Czechs were very strong, great balance on their skates, could shoot, very, very good passers. So I didn't find it chippy at all.
Okay. Denis, let me pick up with you again because Canada lost the next game 4-2 to the Soviets. And that was the last game in the first round. And now you guys are off to the final round. And in the first game, May 10th, Canada loses 5-1 to the Soviets. You had played them much closer, obviously, in the previous game. 4-2 loss in the previous game, 5-1 in the first game of the playdowns, if you like. Do you remember much about that 5-1 loss to the Soviets and what it did to the team's morale?
Unfortunately, I don't know. I wouldn't have had any idea that was the score. But again, like Garry and Guy and Pat, but we stuck together, and you're going to win some and lose some, and try to have your singers sing and dancers dance. And I think we played fairly well.
Pat Ribble, any recollections of that 5-1 loss in the first game of the playdowns?
I don't know if that was the game that I got in a little altercation with one of the Russian guys, but I obviously didn't get the memo about Team Ugly because I did try to punch the guy, but I think it was more of frustration, and we were getting the raw deal on the penalty calls, I think. So.
Was I should ask Denis Herron that question, was officiating an issue in this tournament the way it was, for example, in 1972?
Yeah, a little bit like the guy said. He called thing that in North America you didn't crawl. And with the bigger ice surface, the guys they were skating like the guy said, the Russians, the Czechs, they could really skate. They were very, very good balance on their skate. And sometimes you try to check somebody and the referee saw something different. But overall, it was just the way they played. Exactly.
Oh, okay. You guys being hockey players are going to understand what we're about to do now, and that is we're going to have a line change because we've got a couple of other guys who are on the bench waiting to come in. So I'm going to suggest that Denis Herron and Pat Ribble just take a little break, go off to the bench. Don't go far because we're going to try to get you back in as well. And to that end, we want to welcome to our broadcast tonight two other people who were overseas and partaking in Prague in 1978 in this tournament. Marshall Johnston was a former player, coach, general manager in the NHL, and he was the assistant coach to Harry Howell for Team Canada 1978. And let's see if we can also get, in Bayfield, Ontario, Glen Sharpley in here. Glen, the dependable centerman, drafted 3rd overall by the Minnesota North Stars in 1976. He had 20 goals in 3 of his 5 seasons in Minnesota, and he had 19 in the other, so he was pretty dependable.
North Stars in 1976. He had 20 goals in 3 of his 5 seasons in Minnesota, and he had 19 in the other, so he was pretty dependable. North Stars in 1976.
And I'm hearing myself, are you guys all hearing myself echoing back to you?
Yeah, I'm hearing the same thing.
Glen Sharpley is listening to the YouTube. Is on delay.
Okay. Glen Sharpley, if you can, disconnect from YouTube. There we go. Glen, you've disconnected from YouTube, and have we got you now?
Yeah, I still can't get that cam working, but you've got my audio.
Okay, terrific. We are anxious to hear what you have to say.
I had to watch the YouTube. It's been great. I loved it.
Okay, excellent. Where would you like to pick up the story in terms of where you guys are obviously in the first round of the playoffs right now, and the first game against the Soviet Union has gone not well. What do you think of the team's prospects at this point in the tournament?
I'm not sure anybody thought we were going to actually end up beating them. I mean, it's, Unger and a few of the guys have suggested, that at that point in time, there wasn't a lot of those guys playing in the NHL. And the reality is the Europeans at that time, their focus was on the World Cup. They didn't care about the Stanley Cup. That's what they wanted. Their goal was the World Cup. And so they stacked their teams as best they could. And, like everybody said, it was an honor to be there, but we were playing against the elite Europeans. Simple as that. So the fact that we won the bronze was a feather in our cap.
Did you feel overmatched throughout the tournament?
No, absolutely not. We just, it was, but obviously those games were a struggle. They were a struggle.
Well, let's go to Game 7. This is against the defending gold medal champion Czechoslovakian team. And here's Jean Pronovost doing what he did very, very well for many years in the National Hockey League. Clip 7, please, Glen.
Robert Picard passes ahead to Dion. He shoots. Holacek makes the save. Pronovost fires home the rebound. The game is only 2 minutes, 10 seconds old, and Team Canada is leading 2-0.
Guy Charron, 2-0 Team Canada at that point. How you feeling about the game?
Well, it's like everybody's expressed. I mean, you're in a game that you feel that you have to win, and again, to recollect exactly those moments, I know that it was an excellent start, and that's what we expected for us to come out and get on the scoreboard as early as possible to kind of dictate the game to some extent. So, to have that kind of a start, we were looking forward to complete the game.
I think I'm glad to see that Denis Herron is off the bench and back into our starting lineup here, because that, Denis, I don't know if you remember, was a very, very busy night for you. Let's take a look at some of your work from that game against Czechoslovakia. Glen, clip 8, please.
Marion Stasny shoots, and Herron makes a fine save. Unable to clear, Herron keeps Canada in the lead with another great stop, this time on Peter Stasny's point-blank try. Team Canada's performance was one of their better ones in the championships, despite the loss. It was a game which they could have won, and Denis Herron, who made 49 saves, compared to Yuri Holochek's 24, deserved a better fate.
Denis, what do you remember about that game?
It was a busy night. Remember that. Definitely, like I said before, they play company, different kind of game. They pass the puck and pass, and as a goalie, you had to be very, very, very fast just to follow the puck. If the guys remember, even Kritak didn't even play against the Czech. It was the other goalie for the Russians. I think Kritak was drilled for the North American team. It was not drilled for the European team. Okay, that was the difference. So you had to be very fast and move from one side to the next, because they were passing the puck all the time, and even the net was pretty much wide open, and you were still passing the puck. Okay, that was a big difference.
Well, Team Canada lost the game 3-2, and now you guys know it's not going to be a gold and it's not going to be a silver. So, Garry Unger, if you would, put us in the dressing room after the game. What was it like?
Well, you go for what you can take, and you play as hard as you can. There's times in the game where there's breaks and the puck goes in the net, and there's times when it doesn't. And I think all of us, again, being professional players for all our life, you try and not let anything get you too down, and you don't get too high. You kind of stay in the middle. You know that you're good. You never question your ability to play, and I knew that I was surrounded by a lot of the best players in the world, even though we had been beat out of the playoffs with our teams. But there was no doubt that we had enough drive and determination to make something good of our trip. And I think the bronze medal was kind of that thing for us, and it was really actually an amazing position to be in, to be able to win or lose a medal for Canada, and we were able to be part of that.
Glen, Sharpley, what do you remember about the dressing room after the game, after the loss to the Czechs?
Well, you never want to lose. I mean, you don't anticipate it as much as you know that. You have a good squad. I go right back to what I said before about how these teams were stacked, and you give it your all. You're proud to be there, and you're with a group of guys, and you're as tight as you can possibly be. But I remember the dressing room being pretty quiet.
Guy Charron, how long does it take to sort of get the sting of the loss out of your system and begin to sort of regroup and think about the fact that if we win the next game, actually, you only had to tie the next game, we can still win a medal? How long does that take?
Well, to recollect exactly what went through our minds at that time, I can't really recollect that. But I think as we all are professional athletes and playing a game that we love to play, you get very disappointed after a loss, especially when you felt that it could have gone the other way favorably for us. But as Garry mentioned, there was something on the line going into the next game, and I think that after a certain time, how much time, each individual is different. Some of them might have looked back and say, you know what, it's over, let's move on to the next games. Other people might have taken more time to digest the loss, but we still had something to go after, and I think the pride and the credit of all the players and that everybody complimented that team as far as leadership and the character, and we did have a lot of character, and whether you mention Garry because he's there, but there was a lot of people that brought leadership and helped those of us that hadn't been there or hadn't had the experience for a long time, and gave the proper focus, and probably our coaching staff too. I can't recollect any particular speech that motivated us, but there was still something for us to win. And I think the pride of the team and the players and the character that the team had, went out and did what they had to do.
Let's see, Laura, who else we've got here that I'd like to hear from on this. Denis Kearns, how about you? Depressed after the loss to Czechoslovakia, no doubt. How long does it take to get over that and realize you've still got something to play for?
It doesn't take long when you look around the dressing room and see the likes of Pat or Guy or Garry. It doesn't take a whole lot to get over that and set your focus on the next game.
Well, the next game was a biggie. May 14th, the last game of the tournament for Team Canada 1978. You're playing against Sweden for the bronze. I think there's a guy named Salming who plays for Team Sweden at that time, and he looked pretty good during the tournament. It's 2-2. There's 1 minute to go, and here's what happens next. Clip 9, please, Glen.
Lundberg fakes a shot, goes over the line towards the goal, and Shand covers up for Canada. And we have exactly 1 minute remaining in the game. Here's a chance for Hickey. In over the line, he scores! Hickey! And Canada goes in front 3-2.
Well, every man in Team Canada is off the bench, and it wouldn't have mattered. That goal didn't mean it. It just ices the cake. But it's more important to get that win. If we get the bronze medal with just a tie, well, it's not too good. But here we see the puck coming out. There we see Dion just giving the little throw ahead. It hits Lindgren and bounces ahead. Hickey makes the little fake first and then shoots it. Augusta got a piece of it. There we see Dion just throwing it. Lindgren just misses the puck. There's the little dip just to hold Augusta in the shot into the net for Pat Hickey.
And the time of the goal, 19:03. This is the World Hockey Championship on CTV.
Bernie Pascal and Tom Watt with the play-by-play and the color commentary on that. Okay, Pat Hickey, take us through that play. First of all, how the hell did you get that open?
Well, there's a couple of stories to that. I just want to let you know that it was Carl Brewer that taught me that exaggerated head fake on the goaltender. But if you look at the tape, we had a face-off on their end before, and Marcel always said this to me, and Jean always backed him up. He said, if I get the puck, just take off. And he said it to me again about 45 seconds before that. He said, if you see me get the puck, take off. So I really wasn't cheating. I do back check, but I knew the puck was going to Marcel, and I took off, and they got a little Irish lucky bounce there, and it was great. And it's just the like Marcel said, I think in the first interview there, that they were the seniors on the team, and he knew I had legs, but he was always pumping me. Just moving as fast as you can. I'll find you. Don't worry. And that was a play that the puck ended up ahead of me, and the Swedish goalie stood tall, and it went in. And I think it was fun for all the guys, just to, as the guy announcer said there, 2-2, winning the bronze. Sure, yeah, we'll take it. But to win the game was very special.
Pat, when you're going in on that breakaway, you literally have, I don't know what, a second and a half or 2 seconds to figure out whether you're going to shoot, whether you're going to deke. If you're going to shoot, which of the 5 holes are you going to shoot for? You got a lot to think about and not very much time to figure it all out. So when did you know what you intended to do?
Well, it's one of those things you don't think about it because you've just done it 1,000 times in your career. As Garry has said, we're professionals, so now I'm in a position to pull off one of the moves. So I have to decide, and the first one was, make the first move, and I'll freeze the goalie. And he froze, so I sent it under his armpit. Is sort of what I've done 1,000 times before. So there really wasn't a lot of thinking on it. It was just kind of like a repeat move, and I had time to get off a good shot.
Under what circumstances did Carl Brewer give you the advice to do that?
He did it to me all the time when I was forechecking him, and I wanted to strip him of the puck, and he'd give me this little nod, and I'd go for it and zip by me. So I said, "Can we turn that into an offensive move?" That's how he translated it to me.
Pat, after you scored that goal, did Paul Henderson's?
Gary's laughing. I bet you he fooled you on a forecheck too a few times. Right?
Well, I played with Carl.
Yeah.
Carl Carl was in Toronto and then came to St. Louis. He would slide the puck down the ice, not touch the puck, and stick handle over top of the puck in the air and put his head back and forth, just like you're talking about. And everybody would just leave the puck and he'd slide right through.
Yeah. Exactly.
Pat, I want to know if at any time when all of your teammates were mobbing you, did Paul Henderson come into mind at all?
Nah, no, those things are great memories. But it was a great experience. I've never been in that, even in minor hockey, like scoring the winning goal and all that kind of stuff. But I was surprised that bench clearing brawls were kind of terminated right about that time that we were playing, and I don't think it was allowed to clear the bench to celebrate goals and things, but I was pretty proud of my teammates greeting me out there. That was for sure. That was a fun time.
Well, let's find out what you had to say 43 years ago in one of the intermissions about that moment in your career. Clip 11, please, Glen.
Pat, the way everybody exploded off the bench after you scored that goal, it was like a Stanley Cup winner, the 7th game in overtime or something.
Well, to us, in a way, I guess it was. I've never been a Stanley Cup winner, but this is equal to that as far as I'm concerned.
Have you ever felt as much pressure as you felt in this, not just this game, but this tournament?
No, the intensity and all the little things, just the mental anguish that you go through, and because you want to win, you just want to win, and it's tough when you lose, and everything involved. And we've read about it in the papers. Being a fan myself of 72 and on, we just get so wired up, and I'm just pumping like anything right now.
Okay, Pat, what do you think when you see that?
Yeah, that was a time. It was actually my birthday, and I wanted to be with the guys, so I didn't know that guy very, very well. But then a lot of interviews growing up with CHCH TV and everything. I just wanted to get out of there and just have a cold one with the guys and celebrate, what we just done.
I think you scored that goal on May 14th, and your birthday was the next day, right?
Correct. Yeah, it was. So you start thinking about your parents and all that, and it just becomes. One point I wanted to make when you were asking about what inspires you to get up for, like knowing you haven't won the gold or the silver was somebody whispered it to me, and I know most of the guys knew it at the time, is that this was new for the NHL to participate in the World Championships and go to Europe, and we were all young and looking at this. So 77 was the first. So there was no world champion or Olympic medal given to a Canadian team since 1960. So this was a long time, and I told the guys sitting around me, I said, we have something to play for. We can be the first Canadian team to win a medal, a world championship medal, and take it home with us, because 77 didn't. Before that, I don't think the team Hockey Canada participated in this tournament. And ever since, it's been very important to all the teams that followed. So it's nice that we were the first to bring a medal home.
Well, let's get some feedback from your teammates. Guy Charron, what did you think when you saw that puck go in the net?
Oh my goodness, the emotion is just tremendous. It's there's nothing like our game when things like that. I'm sure what went through Pat after he saw the puck on the back of the net, but just us on the bench realizing that what had just happened. I mean, you just you're pumped right up, and you want to get on the ice and congratulate him and just happy of the accomplishment. I mean, that's I don't think you can express it any better than what Pat said. And it's like it was at a very emotional time. It was a great time to celebrate, and we didn't make all this trip and effort of working for nothing. And there was a little bit of a reward for those effort, and it was great. It was something. When you win something, you just don't forget about these events.
Denis Kearns, when you saw that puck go in, what did you think?
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate Pat. That was a goal scorer's goal. He moved his shoulders, his head, whatever. He never did anything with his hands or the puck. It was going to be a shot or one little simple move. Very similar to what Mario Lemieux scored years ago when he froze the goalie. He froze the goalie and took advantage of it. That is a goal scorer's goal. It's the first time I've seen it. It's a wonderful goal. Beautiful.
Wow, Glen is back.
I was going to say, speaking of the first time we're seeing it, I think we can see Glen Sharpley now.
Yeah, I thought it was on high speed. I guess I'm just on dial-up.
What are your recollections of that goal, Glen?
It's at the time it's so overwhelming, and it's at that moment in time you go, we're not going home empty-handed, and sometimes there's no words to describe it. So I still have the medal here. I don't know if anybody brought it, but there it is.
Oh, let's play show and tell.
Yeah, here it is. I mean, I brought it. Yeah, like here we go. There's the medal. I don't know if anybody, I mean, we probably all got them, but I thought I'd bring them because, there's other people that didn't play that were fans that haven't seen that. So anyway, that was pretty special.
Good job.
Glen, all these years later, Glen, how important is it for you to be able to hold that medal?
It's really special to me because my career ended with an eye injury. So it was literally the only thing I ever won. And I love playing with everybody. Like seriously, you can't sugarcoat it. It's just the best feeling in the world to win and to be in the dressing room and throwing beer on each other and celebrating. Especially I was a young guy. I mean, again, I was another one of Eagleson's guys, but there's nothing replaces winning. Nothing, absolutely nothing replaces winning. I even brought this because I don't know if anybody's got this, but this is the tracksuit. And there's some guys I think it wore. I kept it. Look at this thing.
Yeah. I still have the luggage, Sharps.
Really?
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
I still want to get Denis Herron's view on that Pat Hickey goal going in the net. Were you in goal that game, Denis?
Yes.
I was in goal. I was surprised because I played the game before, and Harry came to me. He said, "You're going to play against Sweden." I play. When Pat scored, it was a big relief because it was so much pressure. Also, as a goaltender, it was the biggest relief in my career.
And Garry Unger, your view of that last goal?
Well, what I remember, and it was an unbelievable goal. Denis was exactly right. That was a goal scorer's goal. He waited the goalie out, had his head up. Like you tell the kids, if I'm the goal judge, I want to see the guy that's coming down the ice with the puck. I want to see his eyes, and he was looking, he was waiting. But what I remember about that team, it was so unselfish.
Oh, we've had issues with bandwidth with Garry. Unfortunately, he's popping in and out all night. But let me just see, for those of you who are left here, how many of you, I think nobody here won a Stanley Cup in their career. Is that right?
Correct for me.
Right. So for you guys, was this your kind of Stanley Cup moment? Pat Hickey, you want to start off on that?
Well, I guess in a way I was fortunate enough. So my answer is like the next year with the Rangers, we went to 79 Stanley Cup Final against Montreal, and they beat us. So it was sort of a long treadmill. But, with 72 and growing into that and being coached by a fellow named Billy Harris in Hamilton Junior Red Wings, who Bill Harris was the only guy, because he went over and coached the Swedish national team. And when the 72 series was announced, he was the only guy that said, you better watch out. These Russians are good, and we have to have everything clicking to beat them. And he was the only guy that was right about that 72 series. So, with that, I sort of had some insight that it was going to be tough over in Europe and all of that. But I just like what Marcel said to me all the time. Just keep your feet moving, I'll find you, right? And I think all the guys were like that. Like, we'll get up in the morning, we'll figure this out, and we'll come away with what we can and what's offered to us.
Garry Unger, would you mind unmuting and just finishing off the thought you were going to make?
And am I muted? Can you?
No, you're good
now. My wife tells me to be muted. When I got cut off there, it was really an unselfish team. The guys were all great players from all the teams that we had come to, but nobody cared who scored, who had points, it was just a real team effort, and to have that feeling of winning with that type of a team was really fun, because Pat Hickey scored the goal, but as far as I was concerned, every guy in that dressing room scored that goal. So it was really a unique feeling. We got close to a lot of guys, and in a short period of time, the coaching was great, and it was just a wonderful moment.
Dennis Kearns, was this your Stanley Cup championship in a way?
Yeah, it would have been, because we played in a few playoffs out in Vancouver, but that was a highlight. And again, to play with the guys that are on here, with Garry, Unger, and Pat, and Guy, and all these Denis, it was a real thrill.
Guy Charron, was this your best moment in hockey?
For someone who's never been in the playoffs, I'll say so. It was like I mentioned before earlier, that it was my playoffs. So when the opportunities was asked to play for Hockey Canada, and so that particular medal means a lot to me as a player. I was fortunate enough to have won others in coaching, but as a player, that was for sure my Stanley Cup, and it's not the equivalent of it, but I sure have the best memories from that particular team.
Glen Sharpley, as you think about it, 43 years later, what stays with you?
I'm just glad I can remember it. It's a moment in time. I mean, I was part of the 77 group that was airlifted in. We all got cut and took the different bus back home, but winning is everything. And I went to the semifinals in the Stanley Cup twice, but when you win something and you can carry it around forever and show people, and not so much brag, but you can tell them, I was on the in fact, everybody that's on this group today, we're all in the Hall of Fame, because we're all on that line sheet. It's amazing, and you forget about stuff like that. But if you ever went to the Hall of Fame, you're there. We're all there. And it's kind of fun to see that, because I've never, like I said, the semifinals is the closest I've ever got. And, I remember Guy and Hitch and Denis and Unger and Denis. I mean, it was such a tight group, and to win together and, be able to carry that with us, like I said, I still have the tracksuit and the dinner jacket. And does everybody still have their dinner jacket? It doesn't fit, but I have this. Look at this stupid dinner jacket. Look at this. Look at this bad boy. Look at that.
How big is that logo, Two Sharps?
The what?
That's a classic.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys like the logo?
It was a good logo, but the sweaters were so cheap. It was a heat seal uniform. I think Eagleson was just pocketing all of the extra cash. And we had heat seal numbers, heat seal logos, but everybody was pretty proud of it. I've got mine in a glass case, just like Pat Ribble, and the other jersey from the year before. I had it all signed by the guy. So yeah, if you don't think I wasn't pretty proud of it, you're wrong, because I still carry it very, very proudly.
And I'll just say briefly, because we don't want to get sued, I think Glen was just kidding about what he said about the eagle. So we'll just move on there.
No, I wasn't.
No? Well, we're going to say you were. Because we don't want to get sued. Denis Herron, 43 years later, what stays with you from this tournament?
I think to play for Team Canada and win the bronze mean everything. It's a highlight in my career. I won the Vizina Trophy, won the Jennings Trophy, but play for Team Canada and the bronze is incredible.
Guy Charron, what stays with you all these years later?
I mean, that particular moment was a long time ago. It's just, I'm just very thankful that I have an opportunity like today to be able to reminisce with a bunch of guys I played hockey with. And, it's like it brings what it meant there for all of us. It's we've all expressed how special it was for us. But now I had to have an opportunity, what you said, 47 years ago, and to be able to reminisce and see the interviews and some of the clips on the highlights. And to me, that's it made my day. That's awesome. I still miss, as we get older, we don't stay as close as we were when we players, but it was a great day for me, and I'm very pleased that I had the opportunity to see the guys that brought a big memory for me was to win a medal as a player. And as I said before, these were my playoffs, and I'll never forget those.
Garry Unger, how about for you? What stays with you? You had a lot of success in the National Hockey League. Where do you rank this with all of that?
Well, like I said, it's a very special time to be able to play for your country. When you can stand there and have Team Canada written on the front of your jersey with a bunch of other top name players in the league. Hockey is a fun game. It's a game where you can share wins and losses. You can share medals and all the other different experiences. But just some of the things like Pat Hickey's talking about, or in the dressing room, and the little things that you remember about somebody saying something to pump you up in the game, like Denis Kearns did to me when I was whacked in the corner there. It's just a special opportunity for us to. Every kid in Canada would like an opportunity to play for Team Canada at one time or another, and I think we did realize, like it was mentioned earlier. I think maybe Glen mentioned it or somebody mentioned it earlier, that the Russians were all in the army. We had the top team in Russia playing in this tournament. The World Tournament was what they geared themselves for all year long. It wasn't the Stanley Cup. It wasn't anything else other than the World Tournament. So for us to put a team together like that in 2 weeks, fly over, time change, all the different things that went on, and then get an opportunity to visit a foreign country. For me, when I wanted to play hockey, one of the things that I loved to do other than play the game was to travel and to meet people. And the people I met during that tournament were wonderful people, guys that really read into my life, and it was a great time.
We're coming into the home stretch here of our discussion tonight, and if Pat Ribble is still watching, I would just like to ask him if he would to click on the link and come back into StreamYard, because I actually have a question for him related to the next thing that I'm going to bring up, and that is this. I think we should take a moment here to remember that there is one member of your Team Canada 1978 who is no longer with us, Tom Lysiak. He died 5 years ago at the age of 63 from leukemia, and his wife Melinda sent us some pictures today, knowing that we were going to put this broadcast together. And let's just look at those pictures. That is the ring that he got for participating on Team Canada. There's the year and his number, and of course the beautiful maple leaf on the top. I presume everybody who played on this team got that ring. Tom Lysiak, a great NHL career, more than 900 games played for the Atlanta Flames and the Chicago Blackhawks, 843 points in 900 games. The guy was almost a point-a-game player. And now I just want to find out from Laura whether or not Pat Ribble was able to get back into our broadcast here, because they, of course, were teammates on the Atlanta Flames. And I would love to hear what Pat had to say. And Laura, tell me, is he available?
Tommy was smooth.
I don't see Pat. Pat, if you can hear us and you want to log back in, we will talk to you.
Okay, fabulous. In the meantime, I'd sure love a Tom Lysiak anecdote from anybody here who's on the stream right now, so we can remember his contribution to this team. Jump in, anybody who's got a story.
You know what, Steve? I don't remember individual contributions that he may have made, but I was fortunate enough when I got traded to Chicago that I played with Tom. And he was a class act and, you know, gritty guy. And he obviously contributed heavily to our victory.
Good. Thanks for that, Glen. I didn't want this moment to go by without us remembering Tom Lysiak. I think we should take one last look at Prague in 1978. And to do that, once again, Glen Dreyfus, let's have clip number 10, please.
With the raising of the flags of the 3 medal-winning countries, so ends a very successful championship for Canada. Canada's players return to the ice for the closing ceremony, which end these World Championships with a wave of color. Team Canada's chairman, Alan Eagleson, congratulates the new champs. It was Eagleson, more than anyone else, who was responsible for putting together this edition of Team Canada and achieving another milestone in the illustrious history of Canadian hockey.
Is that really true?
Pat, you wanted to add something there?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, something I learned in New York. A guy named Sonny Werblin took over Baltimore. He told Joe Namath everything that Joe Namath is on record that quoted, like we're going to win the game in NFL, AFL, and all that kind of stuff. But Joe Namath did say one thing. He says, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose until you win. And that's sort of what we accomplished over there. We won the bronze medal, and we had won, and we could celebrate and brag about it and take it home. And Sharps, just so you know, and all the other guys, it is in the Hall of Fame, because the Hall of Fame came to me way back when, like when my kids were young, and I gave them my jersey and the medal and the bronze medal. So it's sitting in the Hall of Fame, all of them. So it's there. But it was a great time. And I don't know, Sharps, if you remember, we went downtown Prague. My mother was an artist. I was always trying to find somebody to go and, like, let's go look at the subways. Let's go look at the electric buses or whatever. And my dad said to me, you got to go downtown to one of the cathedrals, because the infant of Christ is down there. There's a certain statue, and I took Sharps down there with me, and we toured that out. That's another great. Oh yeah, and I brought home this crystal from my wife. For my wife to be at the time.
Yeah,
so
what do you mean?
Prague was a great time, and thanks for asking.
Pat, which birthday did you celebrate the day after winning the bronze medal?
That was my 25th.
25th. Boy, you were a young kid then. And why do they call you Hitch?
Well, Hitch is because my dad worked for Canadian Bluebird school buses, and they needed to be distributed out of Edmonton. So we drive them from Brantford, Ontario, and then Vans as kids. And when I got back into the Hamilton Junior Red Wings locker room for training camp, I mean, I'd tell them my hitchhiking stories, because we drove the buses out there, but I had to hitchhike back. So they changed my name from Hick to Hitch.
Gotcha. I want to find out where everybody's medals are these days. Denis Kearns, do you know where your medal is?
I don't. I know where my ring is. I know where my jersey is. My jersey from '77, I lent it to the Hall of Fame in Kingston, Ontario, and somebody stole it out of the Hall of Fame in Kingston. But I have the ring, and I have other stuff here, but I'm not exactly sure. My wife would probably know where the medal is.
Gotcha. Garry Unger, the ring, the medal, the jersey, where is it all now?
Well, I was coaching in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the Central Hockey League, and I had a break-in my house, and lots of that stuff disappeared. I don't think anybody would have known what it was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but what the police told me was I had an Edmonton Oiler ring and a bunch of St. Louis stuff and a bunch of watches that I collected from Russia, exchanged back and forth, and it all disappeared.
Ugh, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's terrible. Denis Herron, how about your stuff? Do you know where it is?
Hey, Lynn, you have the...
I got all my stuff from my jersey to the ring to the medal. I got everything.
Good stuff. Guy Charron, where's your ring, your medal, your jersey?
The medal for sure. Unfortunately, I've had to move a lot of different places. So some of it, I believe there was nothing was given away. I know I've seen the medal before. So unfortunately, it may be with some other memorabilia that I may have that hidden somewhere. But no, I believe that there's no reason for me to think that I don't have any of them except perhaps the jersey.
And Glen Sharpley, your stuff. You know where it is?
I've got one jersey that I show at my retail sporting goods store. I've got one at home in a glass box. Obviously, my tracksuit and dinner jacket are handy, and my medal's in the safe unless I'm showing it.
Very good. Well, let me ask you guys one last question, and that is, we did a show with some members of Team Canada 1972 who told us that they feel that they are kind of connected and bonded together almost like brothers forever. And it's going on, I mean, next year will be the 50th anniversary of that original Summit Series. How about for you guys? Is there a bond that lasts, and are you in touch much over the years, that kind of thing? Guy, you want to start us off?
Not as much as I think I should have initiated, more so. I blame myself for that. I think it's I worked with a gentleman in hockey, but it was in coaching, was Mike Kitchen, and I should have learned from him that every opportunity that he saw of an ex-teammate or somebody he had worked with that got promoted or fired or any circumstances would take the initiative of sending him a text or giving him a phone call. So I apologize to a lot of people because I haven't been as good, but I've had opportunities to meet with Garry, and he initiated a phone call to me at one point. He says, I'd like to talk to a left winger from the Detroit Red Wings. And I thought, who the heck is this? And it was Garry. And since then, he works from Banff, and he's been through Kamloops, and he's given me a call, and we've had the opportunity to have coffee, he and his wife. And I miss it, but if I miss it so much, I should take some initiative and try to get in touch with some of the players.
Dennis Kearns, how much do you stay in touch with guys on this 78 team?
I'm fortunate enough to see a lot of Garry Unger. He posts some beautiful things on Facebook, which I really enjoy following. He and I have a lot of common. I'm married 49 years. Gary's quite a bit younger than me, so maybe not that many years. But Pat, to your point, Pat Hickey, here are my glasses from Prague. And in 77, I was taken downtown by Rod Gilbert. We were playing an exhibition game in Prague. And these are called dancing glasses. And my wife was very surprised when I showed up in Vienna with all these wine glasses. I don't know if I bought a dozen or what I bought. So
that's what you get for hanging out with Rod Gilbert.
That's right. Yeah, he taught me a lot. So
that's great, Dennis. Okay, Garry Unger, how about for you? How much? Oops, Gary's gone. So let me go to Glen Sharpley then. Glen, how much do you still stay in touch with guys from this team?
Very little. I see Hitch in the summer. He cottages. He lives in the summer in Huntsville. And we see each other a couple times in the summer and have lunch. I think we're all guilty of not reaching out because it was such a special time. But, you know, we're all busy. I've got grandkids now, which was, you know, a pleasant surprise. But having this little round table discussion with video, and it's going to spur me on to reach out to some of these guys because I miss them, and we had a lot of laughs. There's no question that there's not one of these guys here that just can't say that they'd sit around and after a game or an pregame meal and just tell them we had just had so much fun together. And, you know, not to go and reminisce now about that. You know, it's a shame if we don't do it. So I'm going to reach out, and, you know, I'm going to reach out to some of these guys now.
Super. Denis Herron, how about you?
Not really. Being in West Palm Beach, stay away from it. The only time I see the guys is when they come down to Florida and play a game of golf here and there. But That's the only time. I feel guilty about that because really, like Sharpley said, it was a great team, a great bunch of guys, and we all got along very, very well.
Pat Ribble, we're thrilled that you were able to join us again right now, and maybe you could just continue on with what we're talking about right now, which is the bond that this team created amongst the members of the team. How much do you stay in touch with your former teammates?
Well, we are all guilty of not reaching out. As a matter of fact, I saw Denis Maruk a few times playing NHL alumni hockey with him. That's about it. So we should be doing more of this. I believe, because it was a great bunch of guys, and I was proud to be part of the team.
And am I right in saying that you were a teammate of Tom Lysiak's in Atlanta?
Yes, and Chicago. We got traded together out of Atlanta to Chicago. So great guy, Tommy was.
Could you share a story about him? Because I think sadly he's the one member of your team who's not with us anymore.
Well, Tommy and I were pretty close in Atlanta and Chicago. We hunted together. We had a few drinks together. We lived together in Chicago. They told us when we got traded there, the second year, after the year finished, the second year, they told us, you can't live downtown. You're supposed to live outside the city. Well, I went down in the summertime and got a apartment right downtown on the drive, and we moved in together. And then I was traded probably 6 months later. So, but he was a great guy, great teammate. It's just too bad that we lost him.
And Pat, 43 years later, what stays with you from your experience in Prague back in '78?
Well, as you know, I've got my jersey. I've got some pictures. I do have my medal over hanging, and the ribbon that it came on. Unfortunately, my watch and ring were stolen. Stolen.
You're the third guy who's got that story.
Broke into the house.
Oh, you're the third guy we've talked to tonight who said that they had memorabilia stolen. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's too bad. It's something that I come down to my basement and the first thing I see is my jersey, and just brings back great memories.
Fabulous. Pat Hickey, you get the last word tonight.
Hey, Steve, thanks for that, because I've got a bit of a different perspective on it. Like meeting the guys and everything that was going on with the NHLPA. And I was fortunate enough, I guess, when I retired in '86, I got back into hockey, so I had lots of time to reflect on, the Hockey Canada, Team Canada, and the bronze medal. But you have to understand, at the time, there was so much going on with, the Europeans had not begun to come over. It was that year, '78, '79, that John Ferguson brought over Ulf Nielsen and Anders Hedberg. So after this May bronze medal victory with all my Canadian buddies, I went back to training camp in New York, and I was assigned basically to Anders Hedberg and Ulf Nielsen. And I'm very apolitical, so we're not going to get into that side of it. But I had a brother that was trying to make the NHL, and all of a sudden we were getting all this migration of Europeans, so he never made the NHL. Besides all that, there was a lot of changes going on at the time. We sort of bound together and declared, like, everybody told a certain person, like, their salary and their bonuses and everything. So it all became public in '78, '79, '80. So all of this stuff was going on. Eagleson left in soon. So you tie it all together, and I guess I'm trying to make an excuse of why we haven't really contacted each other and go over to each other's house for dinner or whatever. The world just changed. But it's like 43 years later, and guys, you've made me feel like it's yesterday. So thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
In which case, mission accomplished. We love to hear that on Hockey Time Machine. Gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for spending so much time with us this evening and sharing your memories of what is one of the great memories in Team Canada history, the bronze medal, 1978, Prague, Czechoslovakia. What we do at the end of our Hockey Time Machines is invite our two executive producers, Paul Patsko and Laura Evans, to join us, and Glen Dreyfus, all the way from Seattle, the guy who has been in charge of rolling the clips tonight. And we get a last word from them before we sign off. And let's see. Okay, Glen, I see you. Come on in here and give us your closing comments if you would.
Well, first, Steve, you did a remarkable job as traffic cop on this show tonight. So kudos, and I take back most of the things I've said about you.
Just most.
These guys are legends, and I'm so glad that we were able to provide a forum for them to reminisce and reconnect. I just loved hearing the stories. And if you'll allow me a moment of personal privilege, growing up in Maryland during the 70s and 80s, I wanted to take just a moment to ask a question each of Guy Charron and Pat Ribble, because I sat in the stands at Capitol Center watching them. So, Guy, first of all, I pulled up a quote from an article Joan Ryan in the Washington Post wrote about you. With haunting eyes and curly black hair, Charron is movie star material.
Get me that clip, will ya? So I can show it to other people.
Now, on the 76-77 Capitals, your first season with that team, I really think that is an underappreciated season. You guys won 24 games. That was 5 more than the first 2 seasons of the team combined. And you guys really worked your butts off. Do you have any memories of 76, 77, the first time the franchise really had any success?
Yeah, probably just the disappointment of accomplishing something, but with no recognition, I guess. Like you said, I think that team, when you get traded to a franchise that's an expansion team, and I played on 2 of them, Kansas City and Washington, it's not easy. When you get traded to a franchise that's an expansion team, and I played on 2 of them, Kansas City and Washington.
Paul, you may have...
Paul, you've got there you go. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah. Please continue.
Okay, so it's I agree with you. Like, it was a great bunch of guys also, and we worked our buns off, but with no really big results. So consequently, it's appreciative by a person like yourself or other people that maybe saw that team play, realized the effort that was put in to win the number of games that overdid from the previous 2 seasons. But no, it was my experience with the Washington Capitals were very memorable, and it's probably where maybe not team-wise, but I had some success, and therefore you always you remember those times for sure.
Well, thank you, Guy. I want to point out to everybody, you played all 80 games, 3 straight seasons, were the captain, and combined over those 3 seasons, you scored over 100 goals, which for someone who was never drafted is pretty damn good.
Well, I had people like Pat to look after me, so they wouldn't beat up on me too much.
Well,
hey, Glen, why don't you talk about your book on the Washington Capitals? Brag a little.
I'll send it to everybody. I wrote about the first 15 years of the Capitals because there's been 130 million books printed since the printing press, and not one of them had been on the first 15 years of the Capitals.
Wow.
So I'll send it to you and Pat.
Sounds good.
I want to tell Pat that I had a college buddy, a woman named Rose, and she and I sat up in the bleachers of Capitol Center, and you were Rose's favorite player for 2 reasons. One, the way you cleared people out of the crease, but maybe even more so, your curly blonde hair.
I think I remember Rose. Did she have curly white hair also?
Not back then because she was a college student.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But also, let me tell everybody how good Pat Ribble was. Pat Ribble was so good, he was actually traded for Dr. J.
What?
A lot of people don't know that.
Do you want to tell that story real quick?
Well, all I know is that it had something to do with the ABA, the NBA, the Islanders, and the Knicks. I guess they were owned by the same person, and the Hawks and the Flames were owned by the same person. And the Knicks owed the Hawks a draft pick. They worked it out, and I was the draft pick for Dr. J.
Oh, for goodness sakes. Isn't that something?
Wasn't a very good trade.
The Hockey News back in the day, the Hockey News had a headline, "Can Ribble Dribble?"
Yeah.
Ah, good stuff. That's great.
Okay, I'm done. Thanks, guys, very much, and thank you for all the wonderful memories from my young adulthood. I very much appreciate it.
Well, thank you,
Glenn.
That's Glenn.
Yeah,
That's
I'd like
great.
to thank
Glenn,
Pat Hickey because Pat's the one that brought this idea to get this team together. Okay, so he should be thanked for doing this, and it turned out fantastic.
Thanks, birthday boy. Can we get get an acknowledgement here that Mr. Patsko just celebrated his, I don't believe this, 70th birthday, and he looks 20 years younger?
Yeah, well, I tell Laura I'm 60 years old.
Happy belated, Paul.
Yeah, hey, I love these things, and thanks for the best wishes. And Laura made a surprise birthday party for me, and Glenn did an awesome video. Even Marilyn Monroe sang happy birthday to me, and Scotty Bowman sent me a message, and you can't get better than that. So I'm happy with that.
Awesome.
That was a great video, Glenn. Beautifully done.
Hey,
Great job.
hey guys. Happy birthday, Paul. If you ever need any video, from your careers or whatever, just send a request to Paul because he's got them somewhere, and he'll just delegate over to Laura to find it in his file someplace.
Yeah, well, we are a team. It's just that I'm glad to make videos for any of you guys. And if you're on Facebook, I post a lot of them on there. So, it's always good to look back and see. Now, the stuff you saw tonight is rare that no one else really has. And there's a long story how I got that, but that's for another time.
When the lawyers aren't listening.
That's right. And Pat Hickey and I go back a long way when he came to do our classic game shows way back in early 2000. Remember those, Pat?
Yeah, I remember those. I hated every moment in Toronto Maple Leafs,
Yeah, I want to know how come you got traded for like a 4th or 5th round pick when you were a pretty good hockey player. That's for another show, I guess.
That's for another show. Yeah. Punch Hemlock was my friend, and he wasn't dead yet. Hey, Laura, are we on the social part of this, or is this?
Not yet. No, Laura's going to wrap this up for us here on StreamYard, and then we'll move over to the Zoom. Laura, last word to you.
I won't do another show without my teammates behind me. So we'll organize that. And I'm appointing you because Marcel's not here. You are the captain of getting us all together at some other time.
That's a lot of pressure, Hitch.
You know what Marcel told me? He says, "Oh, my hearing's bad. I can't come on." I don't believe that. He's a character, and we'll get him on sometime. And I sent everyone the link for the Zoom. And Bernie Pasco, who did the play-by-play, he's going to come on the Zoom, and hopefully Tom Watt as well. And even Bill Waters, if he figures out how to do it. So join us there in the audience, be able to ask you questions, and you can interact with each other, okay?
Super.
Great. Laura, bring us home. You get the last word.
Well, do you want dinner or not?
Laura looks frozen. Now, that's never happened before.
That smile, it's sticky.
I before everybody goes, it's been great seeing everybody. Ribs, Hitch,
hey, sure.
it's been awesome. Dennis, long time. Yeah, I saw you down at the Eagles office, but it's been awesome, and I've enjoyed this thoroughly.
So for all of us, I'm sure.
I've got to
Great
take
seeing you
off.
guys.
Thanks, boys. I've got to.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thanks, Dennis.
Bye.
Stay safe,
Good night,
guys.
everybody.
All the
Yeah,
best,
thanks.
everybody. All the best.
See
Thank
you
you.
on Zoom.